Hear that? Yeah, that's the sound of you relaxing, because now you're managing diabetes with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. You get to know your glucose levels and where it's headed. Manage your diabetes with more confidence with the Freestyle Libre 3 system. Ready to learn more about the #1 prescribed CGM in the U.S.? Visit freestylelibre.us to learn more. Based on retail sales data for patients' last filled prescription by manufacturer. Refer to the FLAIR NL4 study published in BMJ Open Diabetes Research and Care 2019. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. Introducing our biggest GMC Acadia ever. Offering bigger screens, bigger views, and even bigger journeys. Live your biggest life in the all-new GMC Acadia.
How many nannies does it take to change a light bulb? None. Light bulbs don't wear diapers.
If you just read the bio for Dr. Steve, host of Weird Medicine on Sirius XM 103 and made popular by two really comedy shows, Opie and Anthony and Ron and Fez, you would have thought that this guy was a bit of, a clown.
Why can't you give me the respect that I'm entitled to?
I've got diphtheria crushing my esophagus. I've got Ebola virus dripping from my nose. I've got the leprosy of the heart valves, exacerbating my incredible woes. I want to take my brain out and blast it with the wave, an ultrasonic, echographic, and a pulsating shave. I want a magic pill for all my ailments, the health equivalent of Citizen Kane. And if I don't get it now in the tablet, I think I'm doomed and I'll have to go insane. I want a requiem for my disease, so I'm paging Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve!
From the world-famous Cardiff Electric... What did I say? Cardiff Electric Network Studios. It's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, now a podcast. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medical practitioner who gives me street cred. The weirdo alternative medicine assholes. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
And we got my partner in all things, Tacie. Hello, Tacie.
Hello.
This is a show for people who would never listen to a medical show on the radio or the internet. If you have a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call, 347-766-4323. That's 347. Follow us on Twitter at Weird Medicine or at DrScottWM. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking it over with your doctor, nurse practitioner, practical nurse, physician assistant, pharmacist, respiratory therapist, chiropractor, acupuncturist, yoga master, physical therapist, clinical laboratory scientist, registered dietitian, massage therapist, or whatever. All right, very good. Check out Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net. That's simplyherbals.net. We'll be talking about it in a second. And check out stuff.drsteve.com. stuff.drsteve.com. Who doesn't need to go to Amazon and buy stuff? Do it through that. Stuff.drsteve.com. You can scroll down and see stuff that we talk about on this show a lot, or you can just click right through. Right at the top of the page. Really helps to keep us on the air. And we appreciate you using that. And simplyherbals.net, well, I said that already. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/weirdmedicine. We'll talk about it a little bit later in the show, but it's we're having fun over there. That's fun. I look forward to that. I mean, I look forward to this, too. But I'm really enjoying that.
Did you catch that?
No, I
do.
You know, I know. Scott can go fuck himself, and I didn't want to say that, but
you're out.
Yeah, he gone.
Bye, Felicia.
Have you seen that thing where that woman is brushing that dog's teeth, and that kid's going, "What the hell?" What the hell? Have you seen that?
That's hilarious, Scott. I'll show it to you.
You've got to just Google it. I don't know what you would Google person, what the hell, brushing dog teeth.
That
It's the craziest thing. I mean, this is an audio show, so I'm stupid to talk about it. Anybody, it's just
Henry and Penny the Frenchies.
Okay, check that out. And this little kid going, what the hell? And the mother is telling him to stop saying that while she's brushing the dog's teeth, and he just keeps going, what the hell? Anyway, all right.
That's funny.
All right. And don't forget Dr. Scott's website at simplyherbals.net, simplyherbals.net. And I guess you're actually selling things again.
Selling things again. We have things to sell again.
Good. Can you get a little closer to your mic so that people
bit of
can
nasal
understand
spray.
them?
Nasal spray, especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Sinus allergies.
Yeah, it's got peppermint oil, CBD. What the hell? It's got everything in it.
It's got everything in there. Anything you need, make you big and strong. Put hair on your chest.
All right. Well, good deal. All right, man. Well, hello, Tacie. How are you today?
I'm fine.
How's retirement?
Oh, it's exhausting. I know now why people say, I don't know how I ever worked. I'm so busy doing nothing that I don't have time
I love it.
for all these little other things that people have to do.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
just
I
no
had
time.
I had to crunch a bunch of data today for a meeting that I have tomorrow. I got like 5 spreadsheets, had to do pivot tables and make charts and do all this stuff. And I had to interview a new candidate. Then I had to do a podcast for one of our professional organizations. And I had another meeting. And I see Tacie, and she's running around, and she's the one that's exhausted. So, but I understand it. You got tons of stuff to do.
Actually, I don't.
I'm looking forward to being exhausted like that.
Yes.
Just
you'll take that challenge, won't you, Dr. Steve?
I will take that challenge.
I got to finish 90 Day Fiance.
Oh yeah.
Haven't had time to do that. That's right.
You've accomplished something there now, Taste. What else? Okay, so by the way, speaking of 90 Day Fiance, you are going to be on our Patreon show with Mr. James Norton, and you two are going to talk about 90 Day Fiance.
Okay.
No, you know that.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway, I'm just putting it out there as a plug.
But, I mean, so the season's almost over. When is he going to do it? Are we going to talk about the new season?
No, well, you'll talk about the season that just happened and what a bunch of weirdos and idiots they all are.
I'm telling you guys, if you don't watch the show, you just must.
We don't know what we're missing?
I call it 90 Day Shit Show. Because
awesome.
it is. It's just a shit show. And I'm like, there are normal people out there that do this. And then I thought, well, why would you make a TV show about normal people doing it? Mm-hmm. You're going to find the most pathologic situation that you can find. Yes. And that's what they do. And that's what makes it fun for people. It's a very slow moving train wreck.
How much of those shows do you think is actually scripted or how much most of it do you think is just kind of them? They're real people.
I swear sometimes I think that they create some situations, but the people are real.
Okay.
I think. What do you think, Taze?
I think so. I
you
think
couldn't
the people
make some
are
of
real,
this stuff up.
But they do. I think they're say, well, let's give it a little more drama. Why don't you ask for, say, a prenup or something like that? But it doesn't matter.
Give your Peruvian fiance a toothbrush for Christmas. See how that goes.
Here's your Christmas present.
Because that happened.
Literally, and I guess the Peruvian thought that the toothbrush.
Well, yeah, she threw it away, but then she kept it.
She threw it in the outside because he sent pictures, nudie pictures to his ex-girlfriend
of her, because he's like, ha ha ha, look who I'm with now. God. Look how hot she is. Can you imagine?
No, it just doesn't, and he won't take his hat off because he's bald, except for this patch in the back of. I mean, I could just go on and on. Yeah. And this one guy breaks up with this girl, and he starts running down the street. Like, where's he going?
Anywhere other than here is where
he just turns around and starts running.
That's like my sister. And this is a horrible story. I don't know if I should tell it.
Yes, tell it. It's too late. You've already started. You can embellish.
Well, I already said it was her, but it's my dad's funeral. My sister was known for drama a little bit. And, aren't we all? And I'll say that just in case she haven't.
Yes, we all are. Yes, of course we are.
So it's my dad's funeral. Everybody got along. And that's not always true in our family. Mm-hmm. And it was, and my brother said, or no, that's not right. So after everything was over, we're all just sort of gathered around. My sister says, hey, we're going to grill out hot dogs, which was different than what my brother told me they were going to do. And I was like, and she said, why don't you stay? And I'm like, hell no. I'm leaving while everybody is getting along.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's apparently, and this is my niece told me this later, Holly, who's, probably my best friend. Mm-hmm. And she was raised as my sister. She was closer in age than my sister and I were. Mm-hmm. And we were raised together. But so as soon as I left, my brother and my sister started arguing because he wanted to go to this restaurant and she wanted to cook out hot dogs, right? So they get in this big argument and they end up going to the restaurant, but the evening ends with my brother and my brother-in-law in the car going down the street in the middle of the street going like 2 miles an hour behind my sister going, Martha, get in the car behind my sister who's going to walk home to Arkansas. So that when you talk about this person running down the street, where are they going? Where was she going? She was in North Carolina, and now but by God, I'm walking home. And she lived in Little Rock, Arkansas. So anyway, we do these things, and then you start, it's just like throwing a plate of spaghetti against the wall in anger. If you've ever done that, you only will do it once unless you're a complete maniac. Because then it's like, oh, shit, that felt good for a quarter of a second. Now I got to clean this up.
Yep. And repaint the wall. Unless
you're Paulie from, was it Paulie from The Godfather? Now clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
anyway.
Paulie.
Anyway.
Memories.
Yes.
What great memories.
I'm going to walk home to Arkansas.
Oh, my word.
All right. This is a medical show. Let's do medicine. We're talking about mental health issues right now.
Yep.
Anyway. All right. What do you got, Dr. Scott?
Well, that almost kind of ties into our...
I should do theme songs for each of these sections. We should have a theme song for bullshitting for 9 minutes at the beginning.
Okay.
And then a theme for Dr. Scott's
bullshit
topics, and then a theme for, when we...
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
That's what Carl does.
Yeah, we can do that.
And, I listen to his show, and it's so professional because he's got each segment has its own little musical theme thing. I'm just too lazy and not creative enough to do that.
You're too busy.
Well, maybe
that's what
maybe
it is.
Maybe if Tacie can put it in her schedule, she can.
Oh yeah,
whip some
whip us up some jingles.
Steve, there's just no time.
Well, Carl has Jenny jingles. He has a jingles department. Mm-hmm. We're talking about who are these podcasts of people who don't know what we're talking about, and I thought, wow, he has this jingles department and all this stuff that Jenny from the jingles department and they have all these jingles. And then I found out that's his wife. When I met them in Chicago, I had no idea that Jen from the jingles department was his wife. So there you go. So Tacie?
Nope.
Okay. All right, fair enough. All right, never mind. Anyway, Scott, what do you got?
So a little study we found the other day about the cocoa supplements and multivitamin supplements.
Yes. So one of our listeners was in this trial and sent us the preliminary results.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would have liked to.
Thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yeah, I would like to have been in this one. Hell, studying.
So talk about
cocoa.
what it was.
Well, so it looks like what they did was a clinical trial with 21,442 men and women across the United States. Investigated whether taking a daily cocoa extract of supplements containing 500 milligrams of cocoa flavonoids a day or a common multivitamin would it influence the developing heart disease, stroke, cancer?
So it was an either or. It wasn't a.
Yeah, now that's the way I'm reading. Of course, you know how I read things. Sometimes I don't exactly get it right, but like the stupid study we read in New Zealand. Bunch of idiots.
Oh yeah, no, they're the idiots.
Yes, they should have known better. But anyway, so it looks like it's 500 milligrams.
Go back a few shows and you'll know what he's talking about. I hate to have inside the room stuff, but I guess we have to in this case. Dr. Scott completely misread a study that he gave.
I did, but the way I read it was much more entertaining.
Yep, that's true.
Okay,
I can't argue with that.
So results from previous studies had been promising. So they wound up studying to determine whether or not a cocoa flavonoid and multivitamin supplements help maintain health. And it's a huge study.
Yeah.
So it was randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled testing.
Excellent.
And so we got the flavonoids.
Give yourself a bill.
That's scary.
From the cocoa.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. And the multivitamins. And they're just checking with these 21.
Well, this was out of Wake Forest.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty legit study.
No, Wake Forest is a real place.
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. No, Wake Forest is wonderful.
Yep.
And it took over 3.5 years of treatment and follow-up. These interventions have already shown favorable results and are well tolerated and safe. So, as you and I have talked about 1,000 times, the key is you're probably not going to get hurt from taking these things.
Yeah,
and that's pretty important.
True. That's true. But we've always wondered, is there any benefit to taking multivitamins?
Mm-hmm.
And, for the longest time, people say there's really no benefit.
Right.
Unless you've got a vitamin deficiency.
Right.
To taking a multivitamin, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
You're pissing out what you don't need. And the stuff that's fat-soluble, you got plenty of it. But so this is really interesting. So let me make sure it's the same one that you're looking at. It's Cosmos Mind, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So they had 2,000 adults aged 65 and over that did not have dementia, and they underwent some sort of cognitive testing at baseline. So, and then they did it every year for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And so the mean age at baseline was 73 years old, and about 40% of them were men. That's because there aren't that many men left over by
that age, yeah.
And so they were balanced. They tried to balance them with respect to cardiovascular history, diabetes, depression. You got to do that. If you have a preponderance of something in one group over the other, then somebody could just point at that and say, well, that might be the reason. Then you've got to do another study. So they balanced them pretty well. And they got 77% response rate through the 3 years, so that's really good. And they said that the primary endpoint, we've talked about this, Dr. Scott, when you're studying Viagra and you're studying it for blood pressure control, and then all the guys start saying, I got these raging boners. Mm-hmm. You can't get it approved by the FDA for raging boners on that study because that wasn't your endpoint.
Right.
So you have to then go do another study that just looks at boner production, and then you can you as a side effect might be low blood pressure. You got to look at that.
Right.
So anyway. So they said the primary endpoint was the effect of cocoa extract versus placebo on this global cognitive function composite score. That was the question I had earlier, was how are they determining this? So this is a validated instrument that looks at just sort of overall brain health. I'd like to take that. I wonder how mine is. I think mine probably sucks.
You need more chocolate, I guarantee you that.
Yeah, and then the secondary outcome was the effect of multivitamin versus placebo on global cognitive function. And they did this graph of change over time. They showed no effect of the cocoa on global cognitive function. But it was a completely different story for the multivitamin, which is why I'm going to start taking a multivitamin again. Mm-hmm. The graph showed the line separated for global cognitive function composite score, and it was statistically significant. So they saw a positive effect of multivitamins in the active group relative to placebo, peaking at 2 years and then remaining stable over time. This is actually kind of a big deal. I mean, multivitamin industry is it's huge. I mean, you go to any CVS or anything, there's multivitamins all over everywhere. But people who look into this think, I'm taking them, but am I really doing anything for myself? And now you can say, yeah, if you're over 65 at least, with a mean age of 73, and you're taking multivitamin every day, you may maintain cognitive function, at least as measured by this global cognitive function scale over time. So I think that's a big deal. I've never seen anything like this.
That's
now,
huge, yeah.
Let me also say that I have another study that says, and this is from 2013, taking a daily multivitamin was not associated with cognitive benefits over a 12-year treatment period. Now, this is male doctors age 65 or older, and this study where this was kind of a secondary endpoint. And it was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. Annals of Internal Medicine. And it says these data do not provide support for the use of multivitamin supplements in the prevention of cognitive decline. So this is the kind of shit. Now, that is that drives people crazy, because if you really want to, if you give equal weight to these, you go, well, it's 50. What? It's not really. The second study was really a better study than this. They were just following these doctors, and they followed all kinds of parameters. And do you take a multivitamin every day? Yes, I do. Then was there cognitive decline? This is a double-blind, placebo-controlled, randomized trial that followed people over 3 years. That is much stronger evidence than this old thing. And so you can't say that it's, well, I've got one study says yes, one study says no. You got to look at the value of the studies. And we cherry pick stuff. And when I say we, I mean they cherry pick stuff all the time. Right. For example, if you have, let's say you have something, a drug, but it's a placebo. You know it's a placebo. You just threw some crap together, and then you start collecting testimonials. So you give out 1,000 bottles of this stuff, and you got a 5% placebo, benefit. Right. That 5% of people who take it will perceive a benefit, even though there's nothing that we can prove. We call that the placebo effect. So you'll have 50 people. Oh yeah. And they write in, hey, this stuff's good. You got 950 people saying this stuff's horse shit. Yeah. Well, don't publish those. Just publish the 50, and you've got page after page after page on your website of positive testimonies, and they're real testimonies. You're not making them up. Yep. So that kind of cherry picking. It's the same thing. If you have 10% of people who believe one thing, and 90% of people who believe another thing, and we see this in the media all the time. Oh, God, yeah. They'll have one person from this group and one from the other, and the one from the 10% group is overrepresented. But you're putting them together like, oh, well, it's 50-50, and it's not. So we see this in science as well, and there will be multivitamin deniers who will bring up this 2013 study, but it's not as powerful a study. So that's interesting. Yeah. That's a good one, Scott.
Well, and Dr. Steve, it's kind of funny because I found right after that, I found another one. There was another study on flavonoids helping fend off forgetfulness. And it's a very similar study, but they're talking about up to, again, a pretty big study where they had a bunch of 77,000 middle-aged men and women collected over 20 years. And the bottom line is they showed up to 19% showed increases in their memory.
Really? Yeah, and as measured by how?
It's their report. They report that this is not a double-blind. But it's just to show that eating healthy foods, and the bottom line is the flavonoids have been shown as good antioxidants that help with vascular health. Which is why they think it helps with brain function.
I got to see, I got to see.
No, I know, but I'm just
telling evidence. But
I'm just telling you that's what they.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yep. I'm not saying they're right either, but that's what they think. It helps with blood vessels.
Yeah, these sort of survey studies. As long as people understand, when you survey a bunch of people and ask them, do you do this, do you do that, and then draw. It's science, but it's very weak evidence. Okay. And what it does is. Let's just say you had a bunch of people that said, I don't know, when I take vitamin D, I
have a raging boner.
Okay, well, I was going to say that, and then I was like, I can't do the boner thing twice.
Yes, you can.
So I'll let Scott do it. No, I was going to say, that's what I was sort of searching for a different word other than vitamin D causes giant boners, but joint pain, for example. And they say, okay, when I take my vitamin D, I have less joint pain. That's really, really weak evidence. If you have 300 people say that, that's still 300 anecdotal evidences. But when you start having 300 pieces of anecdotal evidence, it may be enough to cause someone to fund a study to see if there's a real effect there. Because that's where we get some of these ideas from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I got tagged on Twitter because I had the temerity to say there's 72 studies, clinical trials on clinicaltrials.gov on ivermectin in COVID-19. Somebody just asked me, "Is this all horse shit?" Mm-hmm. And I said, "No, it's not complete horse shit. There are real people, serious investigators looking at this just to see because ivermectin is known to have antiviral properties as well as antiparasitic properties, and it is safe and effective for the things it's indicated for, and is very well tolerated, and it is a human medicine. Humans get more ivermectin than horses do." I don't know where this narrative came from, but anyway, my post got tagged on, no one could reply to it, and it said, "This is misinformation." It's like, oh, it's misinformation that there are 72 studies on clinicaltrials.gov, by the way, not, clinicaltrials.alexjones. It wasn't that. It pissed me off.
Well, it should.
It was just an algorithm. It looks for certain words, so I started spelling ivermectin. Because, listen, I've said multiple times, I think what happened to Joe Rogan was awful. His ivermectin was prescribed to him by his doctor, who wrote it off label, but gave it to him. And then he just says, "I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know anything." Mm-hmm. He says, "I'm just curious about stuff." He does a 3-hour show every day, and then people will take 15-second segments and then pillory him over this. And I didn't like that. And I started spelling. But I've said I would not prescribe it because I don't see the evidence yet. That's me. I'm more conservative in that regard than some of my colleagues are. People who listen to this know I like to see real evidence, statistically significant, grade A level evidence before I can really get behind something. And but I don't blame people for investigating it, for sure, and being interested in it. Because if we have something that's off the shelf that we could treat a pandemic with, that's great. You don't have to start from scratch, But anyway, I started spelling ivermectin with, instead of an I, an exclamation point, and a couple other changes that I made in there. Just so I wouldn't get caught by that algorithm again. Because that's what it was. It was just looking for certain words in your tweet and then tagging it and then blocking people from responding to it. But anyway, that kind of pissed me off. Anyway, what else you got?
No, that's it.
That's it? Okay, those are good. Be on the lookout for questions from the waiting room, people. By the way, we record Wednesdays at between 3:30 and 4 p.m. after I get off work. And you can go to our YouTube channel and you can participate in the chat room, and we respond, and we do a podcast after this, and we'll take your questions from the chat room and stuff. So check it out sometime. All right, very good.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those like lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
All right, thank you, Ronnie B. I cannot disagree with that in the slightest. All right, let's see here.
Hey, Dr. Steve, Dr. Scott. How you doing, Tacie? That's great to hear.
Oh, wait, Tacie.
I don't really have any questions. I just wanted to thank you for making me sound smart. I recently talked about hypnopompic sleep paralysis with people, and they assumed I was really intelligent. Last weekend, I regurgitated what you brought up on the Patreon show. That's patreon.com/weirdmedicine.
I did not play this
about the evolutionary implications of teenagers lashing out at their parents to avoid inbreeding.
Yes.
And you guys were my go-to source for COVID-19 information and teaching me about mRNA vaccines so then I could educate others.
Wow.
So just thanks for making me sound smart.
Hey, thanks. That's Darren Parker. He's been around for a while and been a participant on Twitter and I think in the chat room as well. Good feller. And I did not listen to it first. I said, well, if he sent it in, it'll be good. So sorry about the plug there, but yeah, check out our Patreon. Anyway, that's just Tacie and me. And we do, we'll have celebrities in from time to time, and we do a thing called the exam room where they just ask us medical questions. And we had Joe DeRosa on, and that became, I was thinking Joe, it would just be kind of a fun show, and it was fun, but we got into some heavy topics with him about post-COVID PTSD and some other stuff like that. So, yeah, check it out. It was good. That one, I may put some segments up for public consumption just because it was so outstanding. We've had Bob Kelly on, Mark Norman. As I said, we're going to have little Jimmy Norton in to talk 90 Day Fiancé with Tacie and some other stuff. So it's fun. Anyway, all right, very good. Let's try this one.
Dr. Steve, it's Mike from New York calling. Hope
hey, Mike.
You guys are all doing well.
Yes, sir.
Lately, when I walk outside, I've been getting headaches, sore throat, sore jaw into my teeth. It goes away when I go inside. I'm figuring it might be like an allergy. But I take Allegra every day already. Never had an issue like this before. Should I be supplementing the Allegra with something else, like a Zyrtec? What's going on, if you have any idea? Okay. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Mike. I'll talk a little bit about this. I know, Scott, you'll have some things to say. The first thing, taking Allegra and Zyrtec together is like taking Naproxen and Motrin together. Mm-hmm. They're basically in the same class. You want to take either or, but not both.
Yep.
They're both non-drowsy antihistamines, and taking both of those would be just like taking 2 Allegra and going over the maximum dose. Mm-hmm. Maximum dose of fexofenadine, which is Allegra's, I think 180 milligrams. Mm-hmm. So yeah, don't do that. But I do think that he goes outside and he's having pressure, and then it goes away when he goes inside. Mm-hmm. So we have talked about this before, that there are people who have sunlight or temperature change histamine release. Mm-hmm. This is caused by mast cell degranulation. I just wanted to sound highfalutin. But and what happens is, because of these triggers, environmental triggers, they'll get a histamine release. And, we just talked, those things are antihistamine. So what does histamine do? It does everything the opposite of what an antihistamine does. So it will cause your nose to run, and it will cause some engorgement of the tissues of the nose, which, if you've got a small opening into your maxillary sinus, that's the one over the teeth. You'll get negative pressure in there, and then that can cause tooth pain.
Yep.
So I've got some ideas what he could do. Dr. Scott, why don't you wax eloquent on that? Tacie, you probably have some ideas on this as well.
Not really.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dr. Steve. I think for sure, especially when
this is what I hear whenever I say something like that to Tacie.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
That's what I hear in my head.
I think for sure it sounds like he might benefit from maybe doing a little nasal spray before he goes outside, kind of prophylactically. Just and I like personally the Flonase if it's an allergy, if you're sure it's an allergy, because it'll block it before you go out. I love my nasal spray, of course. I love just to wash all the crud out of your head and keep the inflammation down. Because honestly, the more inflammation you keep out of your sinuses and your nose, the less pressure you're going to have in your face, the less pressure you're going to have in your teeth, and you should do better.
So that presumes, of course, that there are allergens,
right?
Antigens that he's breathing into his nose that's causing this. And if it's environmental, it's a different thing.
Oh, sure.
Now, I do like the idea, particularly of the steroid fluticasone nasal spray,
especially if it's that season.
Because then you got to take it on and on and on. It's over the counter just to help prevent that sort of inflammatory response in the nose. I think he should see an allergist and maybe get on some Montelukast. Montelukast is a drug. It's sold as Singulair. And for some people, when it works, it can work wonders and for environmental histamine release. And it doesn't matter. It's a leukotriene inhibitor. It's, I'm giving myself
Can you, shut up?
Okay, fair enough. I hit the wrong button, but that was actually the right one. And but it's not a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, but it is anti-inflammatory, and it's not a steroid. It's in a different class all of its own. There are some adverse effects with it. Most people can take it and have no effects from it whatsoever. The ones that do have problems. Little kids particularly can, if they get put on Montelukast, there's a small subfraction of them that'll have behavioral issues and stuff, and some of them can be really severe.
Oh, wow.
So, we don't prescribe it lightly. That's why you can't buy it over the counter. But that might be something.
Yeah, and I've got those old Chinese herbs for sinuses I used to give you when you were having your flares. They work extremely well. So if there are a bunch of wonderful options,
try some
just
different
explore, and because some things work for me and they don't work for me. And I think we're all so unique in that way.
Have fun with it.
And have fun. Enjoy your exploration. It's kind of like your retirement. You should just explore.
Yeah. Yes. Well, get a Navage too. Now we have a listener. And he goes by on Reddit. I'm blanking on his name, and anyway. I'm sorry, I forgot. I forgot your Reddit name, but he got a Navage and felt like for the first time his nose was clean and stuff, and it really helped him out. We've had several people since we had Martin Hoke on here, and listen, he is not a sponsor of this show. We don't get anything. They asked me if I wanted to be an ambassador for Navage, and I really kind of just let that go. And I didn't really answer them. I didn't say no, but I didn't answer them because I want to be able to promote Navage because it's awesome, not because somebody's giving me free stuff to do it, And I think that takes away some of my integrity. So now, if it was life-changing money and they want me to, that's what I got to pay for these Invisaligns at some point. It's one of the reasons I did it. Was just in case somebody needed a spokesmodel.
You can do it.
So to do, yeah, okay, all right. But just in case, I could get up there and say, hey, I'm Dr. Steve from Weird Medicine, and Navage is, awesome or whatever. And but it's I don't know where I was going with that, but the
dreaming big, buddy.
Dreaming big. He's looking at that. He's looking at that suite up on top of
the
skyscraper in
Parker Meridian.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, another inside the room story, but we've told that before. The long-term listeners know what we're talking about. All right. Anyway, Navage is awesome. I don't think it'll help this guy though. because I think he has environmental histamine release, and he needs to see someone that will treat that. Mm-hmm. And I think nasal steroids and maybe Montelukast will be the key.
Sure,
okay.
Sure. Sounds good.
Very good.
Good luck.
All right.
Hey, buddy. How y'all doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
So, no, I'm not going to do it. But guess what happened to me?
What?
So I was using my Navage the other day. It had been a while because I hadn't had it. This bitch kicked me out of her house, and she's ruined my life, too. She stole my passwords to all my accounts and changed. Oh, anyway, I get off.
What?
I digress. As soon as I used it, started using the little reservoir at the bottom, it sucks out your nose.
Yeah.
Just red.
Uh-oh.
Started bleeding blood crazy.
Okay, his audio, he was having some problems. So what he's saying is, and again, this is just a coincidence. I promise you I had no idea this guy was going to talk about Navage. It would make sense if I was making money from Navage for me to play this and go, I didn't know. Okay, all right. Thank you, Tacie.
Good job, Tacie.
Anyway, he was using his Navage, and the reservoir in the bottom was bright red blood.
Okay.
So now what do? The rule is that we've talked about, if there's blood coming out of an orifice that it shouldn't come out of, and by the way, that's every orifice of your body, you should get it checked out the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's nothing, then the next time it happens, you can blow it off, but you can't blow it off the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Bright red blood coming out of your ass, probably hemorrhoid, don't blow it off. Let somebody look at it, make the diagnosis. Blood coming out of your ear, get it checked. Anywhere, any orifice, cock hole, yes, please, get it checked, but also out of your nose. So you want to talk about some of the things that can cause bleeding from the nose?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Go.
If his nose was already dry.
Yes, sir.
If his nose is dry.
Give yourself a bill.
Be a little bit too aggressive, and it can scrape the inside of the nose. He starts bleeding.
Or it could be just dry, and it was starting to bleed anyway because it's cracked.
Yeah, he had some little scabs in there, and he just ripped them right off with the Navage.
Yep. But it could be the nasal polyp and some other things. So just get that checked. Now, what they'll do is very simple. First thing, they'll look up your nose with a nasal speculum, see if they can see anything. So a nasal speculum's kind of like, if you've ever had a pap smear. So half of our audience, well, really, our audience, 1/10 of our audience will know what I'm talking about. If you ever had a pap smear, they have a speculum, and a speculum is just something that'll spread things apart so that you can see stuff. They have them for the nose too. You hold it in one hand, you just go in and you open up the nasal passage, and you'll notice the ENT guys have the coolest thing. They have these. They can do it a bunch of different ways. They can wear it on their head. The really cool one is when they have a parabolic mirror with a hole over in the middle of it, and they actually wear it over their eye.
Okay.
Now, when they do that, you go, why in the hell do they have that? Well, they need to be able to see light, see inside dark cavities.
Mm-hmm.
So that parabolic mirror worn over the eye will focus light that is coming from behind you. Mm-hmm. They'll have a light back there, and it will collimate it so that when they look through the hole in the middle, it's like they're shooting light beams out of their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so anywhere they look will be lit up. Because if you've ever tried to screw something in and you've got a light and it's not quite lined up perfectly, you can't see anything, in some little crevice and something. Yep. And so that's what this is, and so they could see straight in there. So in case you're ever wondering why they wear those weird things. And they will look with the nasal speculum. If they don't see anything, they're going to go to phase 2. And phase 2 is shooting some cocaine up your nose or benzocaine or something to numb it up, and to dilate the tissues in there, so that there's no resistance. Mm-hmm. And then they'll lube up a little thin fiber optic scope and stick it in your nose. And they will look around, and they can go all the way down the back of your throat and look down into your vocal cords, which most of the time that's not where this bleeding is going to be coming from. But, and anyway.
It should be really close to the surface. So easy to see.
You would think so.
You would
particularly because it was the Navage. But they could see something in the nasal septum, if you had something, if you've been doing a lot of coke and now you've got a hole that's forming there. I've seen those where you could stick the fiber optic scope in their left nostril and then cut over between the hole in their nasal septum and come out the right side because the hole was so big. And why does that happen? It's because cocaine is a vasoconstrictor. It constricts blood vessels. When you constrict blood vessels on a mucous membrane over long enough time, it can kill the mucous membrane, and then it just eats a hole.
Kind of sloughs off.
Yep. All right.
Yuck.
Questions, comments?
Sorry.
Okay.
You have probably already did a segment on this.
That doesn't matter.
Can you do some on ED for people who Viagra and Cialis don't work?
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned penis pumps before, but, some for diabetics. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I think he said at the end that he's diabetic.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a real common problem in diabetics. And listen, 50% of people over the age of 45 have some problem with erectile dysfunction. So that's why there's Cialis, Viagra, Levitra on the market. But there are other things, and those don't work for everybody.
No.
So back in the day, we used to use yohimbine because that's all we had before Viagra came out. And I remember, Tacie, do you remember when Viagra came out? And they used to have Viagra ties and Viagra clocks and all this stuff. And a lot of the drug reps were making extra money by, instead of bringing those to the doctor's office, they'd put them on YouTube or some bulletin board back then, probably. And they were being very naughty to do that. but people were really Viagra. It was, the cause of jokes and stuff, for the longest time when it was new, because everybody was like, ooh, it's so naughty. But so if those don't work, now what do you do? There is a medication called Alprostadil, and it's a prostaglandin of some sort, which means that it has different effects in the body, but it can affect blood flow as well. And what the old school way to do it was you would inject it into the base of the penis. A lot of people don't want to stick a needle into their dick.
No.
I don't.
No.
But
not unless you have to
get an erection.
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. And they're little needles.
Yes, they're very little.
Are they little?
Yeah, they're like diabetic needles.
Yeah, 30 gauge little diabetic, right, insulin needles. So it's not that bad, but still, sticking a needle at the base of your dick. Well, let's get it on, honey. And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, this is a real turn on. So now there is a thing called the Muse system where they take the Alprostadil in little pellets, and it's got an applicator, and you just shove it down the urethral meatus, a.k.a. the cock hole. Also not real sexy to do that, but it's less traumatic than sticking a needle in the base of your penis. So that's one thing. So you could ask for that. See a urologist. They're usually the ones that are pretty cool with prescribing that stuff. And then there is the venerable penis pump. Penis pump works by the laws of physics, so it will work. And basically, it's a vacuum pump. It has a cock ring on one end, and then you have to achieve a good seal. So you lube it up pretty good so that you can get a good seal. You may have to shave, and you should be doing that in 2022 anyway. Yeah. And then
manscaping.
You get a good You get a good seal, and then you turn the pump on, or you do it manually, and you put vacuum into this, a negative pressure into this tube that's around your penis. That negative pressure will draw blood into the penis itself. You get a big giant purple erection. And then once you get it to where you want it, you slip the cock ring off to keep it up, and that's very successful for people. And the other thing is, insurance will pay for the damn thing.
Yep.
Medicare will pay for that, so you can get that. Dr. Scott, you got any other ideas? What about traditional Chinese medicine? And I know you are an ethical TCM provider.
Oh, yeah.
You don't do rhino horn and all that kind of stuff.
No. You know, we've got some other old Chinese herbs that can help, but I'm with you. You know, and this guy's got a little bit more challenge with the diabetes.
Yeah,
certainly making sure his diabetes is controlled, making sure all those other factors are controlled, smoking, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, don't smoke. Yeah. Good God, if you want to have giant, ballpark Frank in the microwave erections, you cannot smoke cigarettes.
No, and I love Dr. Steve making sure that sometimes they forget to check testosterone. If your testosterone levels are a little bit higher, it's a little bit easier for all these drugs to work.
Yeah,
it's a lot more challenging if in
That's
fact
a good point.
You have a really low testosterone. If all these things are okay, I do have some old Chinese herbs that can help some, but I'm a huge fan of Cialis, Viagra, whatever works, whatever.
Yeah, I'm a fan of whatever works,
as long as they're healthy.
Right.
That's my number one concern.
And a penile implant is sort of the last resort.
And those things.
And if you're going to do one, get a monster hog. As far as I'm concerned, if you're going to, I saw one time, and it was very disappointing. And I don't think I'd be happy with that. I guess it's better than nothing, but Anyway, all right.
So
good luck with that, but go see a urologist.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can really help you, particularly, if you live in a big city, there may be some providers around you that specialize in erectile dysfunction. Go to one of those.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good.
Hey, Dr. Steve, this is Jeremy in Atlanta.
Hey, Jeremy.
Strange thing, I had a physical. Now, I'm a 43-year-old man, and they came back and said that my testosterone is insanely high. It was 1,000, which they said the chart didn't even go up that
Wow.
They asked if I did steroids, which I do not. I take 1-a-day vitamin, and that's about it. I don't really work out that much. I'm probably 20 pounds overweight, so I definitely don't have the body of someone who does steroids, but trying to look up why it's so high, I can't find anything about why your testosterone would be high. So I just wanted to see if you knew if this is something I should be worried about, or did I fail tasks successfully? Thanks, and I'll love the show.
Okay, man. Well, I've corresponded with him since then, because this is one of those. I'm a little disappointed that they just said, well, your testosterone's high. And that's something that he needs to follow up on.
Mm-hmm. Check it again first.
Yes. Thank you. You're going to get another one of these.
Give yourself a bill.
The first thing you do when you get an unexpected answer on a lab test is repeat it.
Right on.
And see if it regresses to the mean.
Yep.
Could be, maybe it was somebody else's, maybe somebody screwed something up in the lab. It happens. So when you get one where they're going, this is insane, and you feel fine, just repeat it and see. If it's still insane, then we got to look into it. So, the problem is that he doesn't have any signs or symptoms of high testosterone. You can be more aggressive. You could be more irritable. You could have acne. You could have oily skin, sleep apnea. And he said he didn't have an increase in muscle mass, which also makes me wonder if the lab test was erroneous. He could have a low sperm count as well. But, the thing is, if it's real, it's got to be dealt with, because high testosterone can be caused by either a testicular or adrenal tumor. That doesn't mean cancer. They could just be adenomas. But and very often they are benign, but they can boost testosterone levels to these crazy levels. And then if you don't treat it, it'll raise your bad cholesterol, and that can lead to cardiovascular decrease in health, maybe even heart attack or stroke. You increase your risk of sleep apnea, infertility, all that kind of stuff. So, and it could just be a genetic predisposition, but I've never seen a genetic predisposition for high testosterone that was that high.
That's pretty high. I mean, and it could just be his norm, but that's really high.
That's pretty
really
high.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about how they develop these norms. You just get 1,000 people and you test them, and then you get the mean and go 2 standard deviations. Well, that's the normal. Well, there's going to be some people that are 2 standard deviations away from the mean that are just normal, that were in that pool. It's just part of it.
Yeah.
So, but this one is, when he said it was, didn't he say it was so high that they couldn't even read it or something?
Yeah, over 1,000.
Hey, Dr. Steve, this is Jeremy.
Let's get that again. Yeah.
Strange thing. I had a physical. I'm a 43-year-old man, and they came back and said that my testosterone is insanely high.
Yeah, that's never good when your doctor calls and says your lab test was insanely high.
It was 1,000, which they said the chart didn't even go up that high.
Yeah, that's the thing. When the chart doesn't even go up that high, you got to check it again. And then if it's still, the chart doesn't go up that high, you got to get it taken care of.
Yep.
So, again, figuring out where that's coming from. Is it a pituitary issue? Is it an adrenal tissue, testicular issue? They're going to do some imaging of his brain. Yep. They're going to do some imaging of his adrenal glands, and that can all be done one thing, and probably an ultrasound of the testicles. Mm-hmm. So that would be the workup for this, along with some blood work. When they figure out where it's coming from, they'll take care of it, and he'll be done with it. And he'll probably feel better. Mm-hmm. Now, he may feel weird in the beginning when that testosterone drops. Mm-hmm. Because it's going to be a precipitous decline in his testosterone.
It's pretty high octane.
Yeah,
I would say
he may end up with having to take testosterone replacement too, because if it's adrenal gland, it's just like taking testosterone, and we'll see.
I wonder if he's having anger issues.
He didn't say that he was or wasn't, so I don't know.
He didn't seem angry.
He just talked about it.
He
seemed like a
happy.
nice feller.
Nice feller.
So anyway. All right, Dr. Scott, what you want to do one more?
Let's do one more.
Okay, well, maybe we do. Let's try this one. Let's try this one.
Hey, Dr. Steve, one question for you.
Yeah.
Why could cavemen drink from puddles and rivers and ponds, but I can't without getting explosive diarrhea?
Oh,
Thanks.
That's a good one.
I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
Life expectancy.
Yeah. Our ancestors were riddled with parasites.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
Yeah, that was a big part.
And we don't have samples of their stool to know that they weren't just running off at the bowels all the time. Matter of fact, if you look at quote-unquote primitive tribes now that don't interact with our modern world, many of them are eating a diet that's high in seeds and nuts and stuff, and they'll have 5-6 bowel movements a day.
Yep.
And they're full of parasites too.
Yeah.
A lot of folks are.
Yeah.
And your body can acclimate to some of that stuff. If I go to Hawaii, which this is a real sort of first world problem, but I go to Hawaii and come back, every time I've ever gone, I've gotten diarrhea to the point that I thought that I had Giardia, and I'd get tested for it and I didn't have it. And all it is a difference in the bacterial flora that's on their food. It's not bad, it's just different.
Right.
My body isn't used to it. Yep. And every time, and Liam, our son, would get it. Beck and Tacie didn't. And we would eat all the same stuff. It wasn't like we were eating weird things or anything like that. It's just a difference in the colonies of bacteria that were on the fresh fruits and vegetables in Hawaii than they are here. And it's a very clean, wonderful place. It's not like, and that's true. Turista, that's just basically what that is. If you get Turista going south of the border, it doesn't mean that the food there is quote unquote contaminated. It just means that there's different bacterial flora in that area than is what you're used to at home. Now, when I was in the Dominican Republic once, I got a bad case of the green apple quick step. And it was because I didn't pay attention to the sign next to my sink that said El agua no es potable. And that means the water is not drinkable. And so some places don't have municipalities that have drinkable water from the tap. And you can use it for other stuff, or you could boil it and drink it. But those do have some contaminants that our GI tracts are not used to.
Yep.
You know.
Sure.
So anyway, that's all that is. So I don't know what but Scott's right. Our ancestors lived. If they were 30, they were lucky.
They're really old. Yeah.
The ancient ancestors. Yep. So, all right. They're probably just shitting all the time. Who knows? All right.
My.
We developed a rectal sphincter so that we weren't just dropping stool everywhere, so that saber-toothed tigers couldn't track us by our fecal matter. How about that?
I like it.
There you go. All right.
Good stuff.
All right, let's try this one, and then we'll get out of here.
Hello, Dr. Steve, Dr. Scott.
Hey.
This is Steve calling from Murfreesboro.
Hey.
I've got a question for you. In the last couple of months, the helmet on my penis has started retracting inside of its sheath for no reason. It doesn't happen that much, but it does happen 2 or 3 times a week. The only thing I can think of is I have put on about 10 pounds in the last year, but I'm only 200. I'm 5'10", 200 pounds, so it's not like I'm, just a lard ass. But then I'm also 61. So I didn't know whether this was normal or whether that's something I should, is my dick going to fall off? Is it just going to crawl back inside of me?
Well, okay, what did he say? What part of his penis was retracting?
Just the head of it slipping back in.
Is that what he's saying? Okay.
Yeah, back into the sheath a little bit.
I've got a question for you.
Let me run that one again.
In the last couple of months, the helmet on my penis has started retracting.
Oh, the helmet. I thought he was saying filament. It's like, what?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
You got a filament on your
Roman war
penis.
helmet.
You got more than, more problems than you're letting on. But, okay, the helmet is retracting. I wonder, I'd love to have him on. Did he have COVID? Because I'm going to tell you, I've heard of COVID dick.
Oh, no.
And I think I've got a little element of that. I'm not as... Okay, you're going to sneeze?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Go ahead. Sneeze. Who cares? It's a medical show. Okay.
Fake. It was a false alarm.
But I think I have a little bit of COVID dick because I've noticed that when I walk around, I'm not as loose and long and hanging as I was. I've got a more...
Here we go.
No, what? No, I'm just saying. I've noticed it, and I thought, well, I haven't gained or I've lost any weight. I'm the same weight that I've been forever since I sort of finished with Noom. And so it's not that. And I've got plenty of testosterone in me. And that isn't it. So could it? But I did start noticing this after COVID. So I would ask him that. And if that wasn't it, when we get older, you have this thing called the cremaster reflex, and there's a bunch of muscles in there that want to pull your genitalia into your body to the extent that they can to protect them, because the species doesn't go on if you get gored by a wild boar out in the field somewhere when you're a cave person. So you don't want your jungle region just exposed any more than you have to. And I think that becomes somewhat more active when you get older. Tacie, you used to catheterize elderly men. Did you notice that their penises were more retracted than you would think a young person's penis? Because you saw plenty of those too. I mean, Steve, it's been since 1996. Yeah. So, no, I don't remember. I just remember I'm not even going to say it. The ones, well, no, I am going to say, yes. Yeah. And how sore they got.
Yep.
How sore they got? What do you mean?
Because they weren't clean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
did you have to clean it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Yeah.
That's the first thing she asked me, are you circumcised? And I said no, and she said, okay, well, then I can date you.
That's not true.
Oh, wow.
Because of that.
That's insane.
Ugh, okay.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Good day.
I'm hearing that again. All right. Well, listen, thanks, everybody. if we don't have any other questions, we'll get out of here. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, well, thanks, everyone. And sorry, dude, I don't have an answer for you. Drop the 10 pounds. If you drop 30, you'll gain an inch. Drop the 10 and see what happens. Call us back. Let us know if you had COVID. Let us know if you've had your testosterone checked.
Yeah, hydration, et cetera.
Yeah.
Anything else good if you have?
And then we'll see.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, I don't have a great answer for you on that. We can't forget Rob Sprance, Bob Kelly, Greg Hughes, Anthony Cumia, Jim Norton, Travis Teft, That Gould Girl, Lewis Johnson, Paul Ovcharsky, Chowdy 1008, Howdy Gooplunk, Eric Nagel, the Port Charlotte Whore, the Saratoga Skank, the Florida Floozy, the St. Pete Barkeep Blower, Roland Campos, Sister of Chris, Sam Roberts, She Who Owns Pigs and Snakes, Pat Duffy, Dennis Falcone, Matt Kleinschmidt, Dale Dudley, Holly from the Gulf, Christopher Walken's Double, Steve Tucci, the great Rob Bartlett, Vicks Nether Fluids, Cardiff Electric, Casey's Wet T-Shirt, Carl's Deviated Septum, Producer Chris, Jenny Jingles, The Inimitable, Vincent Paulino, everyone. Eric Zane, Bernie and Sid, Martha from Arkansas's Daughter, Ron Bennington, and of course, our dear departed friends, GVAC and Fez Watley, who supported this show, never went unappreciated. Thanks to our SiriusXM show, and listen to it on the Faction Talk channel, SiriusXM channel 103, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern, on demand at other times at Jim McClure's pleasure. Many thanks to our listeners whose voicemail and topic ideas make this job very easy. Go to our website at drsteve.com for schedules, podcasts, and other crap. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps. Quit smoking, get off your asses, and get some exercise. I'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine. Thank you, everybody.
Goodbye.